November 2009, Natanz, Iran. Deep underground, hundreds of centrifuges spin at supersonic speeds, enriching uranium. Suddenly, an alarm shatters the silence. One machine surges past its limit, then explodes. Minutes later, another breaks, then another. Panic erupts in the control room. Is this an accident or an act of sabotage? No bombs fell, no commandos breached the bunker. Yet Iran's nuclear program is under attack by a faceless enemy. But how do you fight an enemy you can't even see? For years, Iran has inched toward nuclear capability, defying sanctions and warnings. By the mid-2000s, its Natanz enrichment plant became the focus of global dread, a fortified underground complex spinning thousands of centrifuges to enrich uranium. Israel views an Iranian bomb as an existential threat. The United States fears a nuclear-armed Iran would shatter the balance of power in the Middle East. Options are grim: accept a nuclear Iran or launch a military strike that could ignite all-out war. In 2007, Israel proved preemptive strikes were on the table by bombing a suspected reactor in Syria. Behind the scenes, other covert tactics were in play too: mysterious explosions, faulty equipment shipments, even assassinations of Iranian nuclear scientists. But nothing slowed Tehran's march for long. Whispers swirl in Washington and Tel Aviv. Natanz must be stopped. But how? If bombs risk a regional war, what weapon can slip past concrete, anti-air missiles, and secrecy, without Iran ever knowing who struck? In secret meetings, a radical alternative takes shape. What if instead of bombs or missiles, a string of code could silently infiltrate Natanz and sabotage it from within? It sounds like science fiction, but a small elite team of hackers and engineers, American NSA cyber experts and Israel's Unit 8200, begin crafting an unprecedented digital weapon. For the first time, lines of code are being fashioned into a precision-guided munition, a computer virus that can do the damage of a bomb. If they succeed, it could redefine warfare itself. Its goal: infiltrate the Natanz facility's control systems and physically wreck the centrifuges, all without a trace. This would be the first known cyber attack to cause real-world destruction on such a scale. In 2006, President George W. Bush personally greenlights the covert program, codenamed Olympic Games. When Barack Obama takes office, he accelerates it. The clock is ticking. Intelligence suggests Iran is fast approaching nuclear capability. The race is on to build a virus capable of crippling Iran's most guarded project before it's too late. Behind sealed doors, the Joint Cyber Unit works feverishly. They know failure isn't an option. If this digital strike doesn't work, the next step might be war in the skies. As lines of malicious code pile up, tension runs high. The stakes aren't just technical, they're geopolitical. Can a mere computer worm really do what years of sanctions, sabotage, and threats haven't? Could this be the magic bullet to stop a nuclear crisis? The plan is daring. Create a malware worm so sophisticated it can slip into Natanz undetected and make the centrifuges destroy themselves. To pull it off, the coders push beyond anything seen before. They hunt for secret vulnerabilities, zero-day exploits, hidden deep in the software running Iran's industrial controllers. One exploit isn't enough. They need multiple. Eventually, they uncover not one, not two, but 4 separate zero-day flaws in Microsoft Windows systems. Each is a priceless cyber bullet. Using so many in one weapon is almost unthinkable, unless the target is that important. Line by line, the malicious code takes shape. It's soon clear this is no ordinary virus. It's essentially a digital spy and a saboteur combined. It will worm its way through computers, lie dormant until it finds exactly the right target configuration, then strike hard. The payload: commands to hijack the centrifuge controllers. The genius of it? The worm will send the centrifuges on wild swings in speed, spinning them far beyond their design limits, then suddenly slamming on the brakes, stressing them to the breaking point. All the while, it will trick the monitoring systems by feeding fake normal readings back to the operators. To the engineers in Natanz, everything will appear normal, until centrifuges start ripping themselves apart. Because if the gauges lie, how long will Iran's engineers watch their own machines disintegrate before suspecting the impossible, a digital ghost? The team tests the code relentlessly. They need absolute confidence it will work and remain stealthy. In the Negev desert at a heavily guarded Israeli lab in Dimona, they set up actual centrifuges identical to Iran's, acquired after Libya gave up its nuclear program. Late one night, a centrifuge in the lab begins to shudder and whine. The test malware is doing its job. In a blur, the spinning machine breaks apart from within. A cheer erupts in the room. The digital bomb works. To be safe, they program the worm with safeguards. It will only trigger under very specific conditions, the exact layout of Natanz, and will eventually self-terminate after a certain date. Every contingency is considered. After months of sleepless nights and secret collaboration, they have in their hands the world's first true cyber weapon, a piece of code that can perform a kinetic act of war. But a weapon is useless until deployed. How will they smuggle this digital bomb into Iran's most secure facility? Natanz is a digital fortress, completely isolated from the internet, an air-gapped network. No outside computer can directly reach it. The attackers can't just email a virus or hack in remotely. Their malicious code needs a physical courier to cross the digital moat. Enter the humble USB flash drive. In 2009, engineers and contractors come and go from Natanz, bringing in software updates, reports, and sometimes unknowingly, malware. The worm is carefully loaded onto a USB stick by an insider or unwitting outsider whose personal laptop was infected. There's even a rumor that Western agencies arranged to scatter a few infected flash drives in places Iranian nuclear staff frequented, a classic spy trick. One way or another, that USB finds its way into Natanz. Years later, it would emerge that a Dutch mole, an engineer recruited by Allied intelligence, was pivotal in delivering Stuxnet into the heart of the plant. However it happened, once the drive gets plugged in, the phantom infiltrator is inside. Deep within the facility, the worm silently leaps from that initial computer to others. It spreads stealthily through the Natanz network like a ghost, copying itself onto system after system, always on the lookout for its prize. The Siemens Step 7 software that controls the centrifuges. Days pass, weeks. The Iranian scientists notice nothing amiss. Why would they? Everything still functions normally, or so it appears. The worm bides its time, lurking like an assassin waiting for the perfect shot. Every extra day it hides raises a new risk. What if an antivirus update exposes it before it fires? By mid-2009, months after that infected USB breaches the air gap, the trap is finally ready to spring. The worm has finally found the exact configuration it was built for. Industrial control computers managing IR-1 centrifuges. Quietly, it slips its code into those programmable logic controllers, and then it begins its deadly dance. One by one, centrifuges receive bizarre commands. Speed up far beyond their safe limits, then suddenly grind down to nearly a halt, then speed up even faster. Imagine revving a car engine into the red over and over. Something is going to break. The machines at Natanz endure stresses they were never meant to handle. Yet in the control room, every gauge stubbornly shows normal readings. Stuxnet's deception is working brilliantly. For a while, the sabotage is entirely invisible. The centrifuges are spinning themselves to death, and no one even hears the assassin's footsteps. But how long can the chaos stay hidden? At first, the signs are subtle. A centrifuge here and there fails prematurely. Iran's IR-1 centrifuges are notoriously fragile, so a few breakdowns don't set off alarm bells. Technicians swap in replacements, chalking it up to wear and tear. But then the failures accelerate. By late 2009, machines are crashing at an alarming rate. Entire cascades of centrifuges, dozens of units, are taken offline because so many devices are breaking simultaneously. In one instance, a cascade in Hall A26 fails catastrophically. A rapid series of pops and crashes echo through the chamber as centrifuge after centrifuge splinters apart. Panicked workers power down the whole section to contain the damage and a possible uranium hexafluoride gas leak. The heart of Iran's enrichment program is breaking, piece by piece. The engineers at Natanz are baffled and on edge. Is it human error, manufacturing defects, or something more sinister? They double-check their processes, their training, even the quality of materials. Inside the Iranian government, suspicions quietly grow that some kind of sabotage is underway. Ali Akbar Salehi, head of Iran's Atomic Energy Organization, later admits that a virus had struck their nuclear facilities around this time. President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad himself cryptically confesses that they succeeded in creating problems for a limited number of our centrifuges. Limited, he says, yet behind closed doors the damage is far beyond what Iran acknowledges publicly. By early 2010, roughly 1,000 centrifuges, nearly a fifth of Natanz's capacity, have been destroyed or disabled. Years of nuclear progress literally ground to dust without a single bomb dropped. Meanwhile, technicians replace shattered rotors, but the new ones fail even faster. Is the metal flawed, or is an unseen hand still inside the code? In the span of months, the worm, now known as Stuxnet, accomplishes what sabotage teams or airstrikes might only dream of. Iran's nuclear timeline is set back by years. To the outside world, nothing seems amiss. Iran isn't advertising its troubles. But inside Natanz, chaos and paranoia reign. Security officials scour the facility for signs of conventional sabotage, searching for spies or faulty hardware. They still don't realize the culprit is an invisible invader living in their computer systems. Every day that Stuxnet remains undetected, it tightens the screws, threatening to turn a secret nuclear plant into a junkyard of broken machines. But this shadow war is about to explode into the open. And when the truth finally surfaces, will it spark relief or unleash a brand new cyber arms race? Summer 2010. Outside of Iran, a curious computer virus is starting to draw attention. At a small cybersecurity firm in Belarus, an analyst named Sergei Ulasen investigates a client's glitchy machines. He finds a mysterious piece of malware that seems unlike any ordinary virus. It's complex, almost over-engineered, and it aggressively spreads via USB drives. Over the next weeks, major cybersecurity companies like Symantec and Kaspersky obtain samples of the code and are stunned by what they find. This worm isn't stealing credit card numbers or hijacking bank accounts. It's targeting industrial control systems and hiding itself with a level of sophistication no one has seen before. The deeper analysts dig, the more jaw-dropping the puzzle becomes. Certificates stolen from reputable companies to mask the malware's identity, not one but multiple zero-day exploits chained together, and a cunning payload aimed squarely at nuclear centrifuges. This is not some hacker in a basement, one expert marvels. Consensus builds that Stuxnet is a military-grade cyber weapon, likely built by a nation-state. In fact, it's the most sophisticated malware ever discovered up to that time. By September 2010, news of Stuxnet has leaked into public view, and the media is on fire with speculation. All eyes turn to Iran's nuclear program. Tehran quietly confirms they have been battling a cyber attack and that they've contained it. Behind the scenes, frantic efforts are underway in Iran to purge the worm from their systems before more damage is done. Meanwhile, Washington and Tel Aviv maintain official silence, but the truth is hard to hide. Multiple intelligence sources later essentially confirm what many suspected. Stuxnet was a joint U.S.-Israeli operation. The political fallout begins. In the White House Situation Room, President Obama is briefed that the covert operation has been exposed to the world. The worm wasn't supposed to roam so far, but an error let it spread beyond Natanz, essentially leaking the operation. Some advisors worry this exposure could bring diplomatic blowback or even invite enemies to copy the tactic. Obama reportedly asks, "Should we shut this thing down?" In the end, he decides to press on a bit longer. Through 2010, updated versions of Stuxnet quietly hit Natanz again, seeking to squeeze every last drop of effect before Iran can eradicate it. By the time Iran finally cleans Stuxnet out of its networks toward the end of 2010, the damage is largely done. The attackers had achieved in bytes what might have taken bombs to do. Stuxnet is hailed in some circles as a covert triumph, a high-tech strike that avoided any loss of life while hindering a dangerous project. But there is also a sense of deep unease. The operation that took years to plan is now front-page news, and every adversary around the globe has witnessed this proof of concept of cyber warfare. The genie is out of the bottle. If one country could do this, others surely will try. In quietly destroying Iran's centrifuges, the architects of Stuxnet may have also opened a Pandora's box. And now that the genie is loose, who will be first to copy the spell? In Iran, the fallout from Stuxnet slowly settles. Damaged centrifuges are replaced, and Natanz resumes enrichment, though Iran's ambitions have been set back and humiliation lingers. The regime seethes at the audacity of the attack. In response, Iran pours resources into its own cyber core. Before long, Iranian hackers strike back at targets in the West and the Middle East. Banks in the US are hit by waves of cyber disruptions in the early 2010s. In 2012, a virus called Shamoon suddenly wipes out the computer networks of Saudi Arabia's largest oil company, Aramco, in a massive act of sabotage, an attack many believe was Iran retaliating in kind. The message is clear: cyber warfare cuts both ways, and we have only one question left. Who will use the next silent cyber weapon? Even though Stuxnet was a nation-state masterpiece, but most cybercriminals don't need genius code, they just need your data. See how one breach exposed more than 37 million American cheaters in this video.